Hi everybody, welcome. Tammy from Homesteading in the City with Tammy. Today's video we're out in the garden and I just wanted to talk about the garden a little bit and what my plans are for this coming season. So if that is something that interests you, stick around. So before we get started, I just want to welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. I want to thank you for stopping by. For those of you who have been here from the beginning, I really appreciate you stopping by and watching each video that I put out. Next week's video, I will have been doing videos for a year on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing a giveaway for my year of being on YouTube. So please make sure you subscribe to my channel so that anybody that is subscribed to my channel and that comments in the next week's video, I'll give you all the directions on next week's video on how to register for the giveaway. But all of those that register and subscribe will get put into a chance for a giveaway. The giveaway is going to be one of my bags that I make. That it's going to be kind of a win it before you can buy it, because they'll be in the shop after the 1st of April. These designs will be. So if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider doing so. It does benefit me by you subscribing to my YouTube channel. Okay, so let's get started with the garden talk.
Today's sponsor is Evil Uncle Grimace Woodworking. It is an online store where you can get handmade, one-of-a-kind wood products. Products are made using sustainably harvested domestic and exotic hardwoods. The company currently offers cutting boards and coasters with additional products to come. Check out the website to see what they have to offer.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the ground that what I covered my ground with after the season. I ended up taking the leaves from out front in my front yard and mulching them and laying them over the ground so that they could replenish the dirt that I had there. As you can see, they didn't break down a whole lot. They're still pretty big in far as the leaves going. So my plan is, once it dries up, it had dried up and it was kind of nice, and then it got really cold again and we got some more snow. We didn't get as much snow this year as we usually do, so these didn't have a chance to really break down. What my plan is, I have a leaf sucker blower that it bags the leaves and it chops them into really small pieces. So my plan is to rake all of these up and let them dry out and then suck them up and try to get them to be really, really small. And then I want to put it on the ground and cover everything, and then put my weed fabric over top of that so that it's under the weed fabric and it's still adding nutrients to the soil while I am planting. That's my plan. There might be way too many, and if I do see that there is way too much leaves, I will bag them up and I'll just put them in the trash and get rid of them that way. But let's look at my strawberries. My strawberries seem to have done okay over the season. They're starting to come back. I got some green spots in there. So the grass that I put over top of that, they say to just leave and they'll go through it, and they're growing through it. There's some big leaves that I will probably pull some of those out, but I don't want to pull the strawberries out of the ground. They're not real deep in the ground. They pull out really, really easy. So but there's that bed, and it looks pretty good. They're starting to come back, getting some life into them. There's my tree that I got. I'm not sure these are gonna make it. A couple down here are, but I don't know. We'll have to see if they actually make it. Some of them, there is some alive in there. We'll see. I don't know. We gotta see. It was a test for last year. These are the plant pots that I had my onions in, and I got an onion that wintered over and he's starting to grow, so we'll see. Maybe I'll get a nice big onion. My blueberry plants are starting, if you can see that, they're starting to have some blooms on them, so they made it through the winter okay. I did get a lot of blueberries from these two little plants here, and I just kind of put straw around them and put my other pots around them so that they couldn't quite get so much snow and cold on them. But there's a bunch of straw between those pots and everything to try to keep the roots from 100% freezing too hard. But we didn't really have a lot of cold. We had cold weather, but we didn't have a lot of snow as much this year as we normally do. But that's where I'm at with those. But these are the pots that I had my radishes and carrots and stuff in, and I'm probably not going to put them in this year. The carrots did good in the pot, so I will do carrots in the pot again. I'll probably do a couple of pots of carrots, but I'm not going to do the radishes or the beets. They just didn't do very good. They do better in the ground for me, so I'm going to put those in the ground. And then I have these pots over here. I didn't dump all my dirt. I will go through and add more dirt to these pots that I need to, but some of them had herbs in them and some of them didn't, so we'll just go about what those ones had. Peppers in them on the front porch. This one had my parsley in it, and it will come back. It's still alive. There's a lot of leaves in there I just got to clean up, but I'll probably put some herbs in these pots this year instead of in the ground. But my blackberry bushes, I've got some blooms on those. If you can see right here, there's a nice bloom there. So they're starting. Raspberries, there's a bloom on that one. So the raspberries look like they made it through. At least one of the plants did. I don't know. I had a real hard time with raspberries last year trying to keep them around alive. But then my oregano plants, they never look good, but there's growth down below there that they will do really well here. I just got to get them cleaned off, and then they'll do a nice big growth, and I can get a nice good really fresh cutting in early summer. Like usually June I can get a nice good cutting if I get it cleaned up and get all the leaves and everything out of them. So that's what my garden looks like right now. So it's cold out here, so I'm going to stop talking outside and we will talk inside of our plans for what we're going to do for the full season. So I'll see you in just a few minutes inside. Well, now that we're inside where it's a little warmer and set up in here, I wanted to talk a little bit about my plans for my garden. I have the strawberries, which will come back on their own. I have a couple of plants of herbs that will definitely come back on their own. And of course, the berries, I don't have to do anything with those. They're in their pots and they're just going to come back as needed. With the ground, I plan on taking, like I said, with all of the leaves, raking them, fluffing them up so that they can dry, and then mulching them and trying to get them as small as I possibly can. I would like to put a layer of mulch and leaves on the ground before I put my weed fabric down. I was really hoping, we had some really nice weather a couple of weeks ago, and I was kind of hoping that I was going to be able to get in the garden and get this done. And then if it got a little cold, let that kind of soak in before I put the weed fabric down. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get into the garden to do that until last minute. But then I want to put my weed fabric back down again because it really did do well for me last year. I was able to maintain my garden without spending hours at weeding my garden. And that's a plus for me. I love being outside. I love doing stuff in the garden. I love planting, but I do not like taking hours every night weeding and then constantly having to do it again. With having the bag business that I started over this year, that takes a lot of my time. I mean, I do want to be outside, but I want to be able to say, okay, after work, I do an hour of sewing and then I go out to the garden and I spend a couple hours in the garden doing whatever I need to do out there. I just don't want to have to go out there every night and spend 3 and 4 hours every night weeding to be able to get a harvest out of my garden. It did seem that my plants did very well with the weed fabric down. there was not the grass and everything that was taking all the nutrients from my plants. My tomato plants got huge. They did really, really well. I was just able to have so much stuff. I mean, I'm going to do the same beans that I've been doing for years, and those are the Vortex beans, and I put them along the one back fence of my garden. I had bought extra seeds last year, so I have enough seed to, to do a whole row of beans along the back fence there. So I'll do beans again. Like I said, I'm going to take 3 of those buckets and I'm going to put carrots in 3 of those buckets and get carrots to grow in the buckets. It seems, I don't think I'm going to be able to get carrots to grow in the ground really well with around the weed fabric. I'm going to have to take sections out, and there is one section of my garden that really didn't have weed fabric, and then I just put some light fabric there. So I think that's the section I'm going to use to put my radishes and my beets, and it'll just be a small section that I have to weed right there. That's not a big deal. It's only one little section, and the carrots or in the beets and the radishes are early enough that they end up done real early in the season. So then in the fall I could possibly put them back in again. Let me get a drink of my tea here. My throat's sore. So that's where I'm at with that. So I'm definitely going to be using that weed fabric again this year. It was very, very beneficial for me last year. I did save it, so all I have to do is just try to figure out exactly where I had it in the garden again and try to pin it back down. I might have to buy new pins to pin those down because they got really rusty. I did pull them up and I saved them, but if they break, it's a couple of bucks for 50 or 100 of pins. I don't mind spending that. I mean, the weed fabric itself is quite expensive, and I think it was like $300 for the weed fabric. But if I can get 2 or 3 years out of it or 4 years out of it, I'm saving money in the long run by that. With the vegetables that I plan on putting in the garden, the big pots that I have out there, the long black ones that I had my onions in, I probably will put onions in them again. I don't have real good luck with potatoes in the garden, so I'm not going to do that. I can go to one of the local stands and buy a 50-pound sack of potatoes and get my potatoes that way. It takes a lot of room to grow potatoes for that much. So I'll go get a 50 or 100 pounds of potatoes, and then I will can them and put them so that I have them available. I know they always say, oh, if you keep them in a cool, dark place, they won't get eyes on them. I hate to tell you that almost all of mine get eyes on them. It doesn't matter how cool I keep it, what I do with them, they will end up with eyes on them. My basement is cool, and I will keep them down there in the basement where it's dark and it's cool, and then before I know it, they're covered in eyes. So I always just buy the potatoes, and I peel them, and I put them in canning jars, and I can quarts of potatoes. And I have a video out where I used quarts of canned potatoes to make potato salad. You can do all kinds of things with it. You know, you don't have to just use them for mashed potatoes, but you can use them for mashed potatoes. You can use them in stews and stuff like that. And it just makes it easier to make a stew quicker because you don't have to cook raw potatoes. They're already cooked. They just have to soften a little bit. So that's what I do with my potatoes, and it's just easier for me to just go buy. And then I'm supporting local by going to a farm stand and buying 100 pounds of potatoes from them. There's 2 or 3 of them around here that we can get potatoes from. So that's just usually what I do. My tomatoes, I'm going to do this 3 that I did last year. I've always been doing the alpacas. They are a very large paste tomato. And they're very meaty. And I like those for making my sauce and stuff like that. They don't have as many seeds in them. And they're just really nice, thick, heavy tomatoes. So I will get those. I will get my American Goldmans, which is another paste type tomato that I get. Actually, I think I got 4 tomatoes last year. I tried and I got San Marinetto's tomatoes. They kind of look like Romas, but they're a little bit sweeter than the Romas. They're not as bitter as the Romas that I noticed. So I will get those again this year if I can find them when I buy my starters. And then, of course, the Heinz ones that I use for, they just give you a good flavor, and you can have those for eating if you wanted them for eating, and for salsa. They are very juicy for like a salsa and stuff like that. So that's why I get those ones, just to be able to have the extras. But all of my tomatoes that I got, and I usually get 2 plants of each so that they can fertilize each other. I don't know if there's a male and a female plant. I don't know how to look to see if you get 2 males, 2 females. I don't know if there's male and female of tomato plants. There's usually a male and a female of every plant, but I don't know the difference of them as far as getting them. But I usually have always gotten 2 of every plant, just so that they can fertilize each other and germinate better. I've just had really good luck getting 2 of every plant, and I usually plant them side by side in the garden. So that's what I'm going to do for my tomatoes. Now my peppers, I had 4 different kinds of peppers that I got. I had a nice big red pepper, and I can't remember the name of it, but I did save my tags. It was a super sweet red pepper, I believe. And then I had a green pepper, which they were a little on the bitter side. We're not big on green peppers. And then I had another 2 that were yellow peppers, and those were nice and sweet, and I'll have to remember the names of those ones because I liked them as well. And then we got, and I remember the names of these ones, they're called yummy peppers, and they had the little yellow or orange, if you want to let them go long enough, the little sweet peppers that you would get like in the grocery store in the bag of the little sweet peppers. That's what I had. And my plants were loaded. I had 2 plants, and they were loaded with peppers. I was constantly getting peppers off them. Even when it was cold, I was pulling the green peppers off, and I was just chopping them up and putting them in freezer bags with some onions and using them as into a stir fry, or just peppers and onions to add with things. They are so sweet, even after freezing them. And I didn't do anything with them other than just chop them up into small pieces and just put them in the Ziploc bags and freeze them. And they come out, and I use them when I do peppers and onions for things, and they're just so sweet. So I will definitely get those peppers again. They really, really had a nice taste to them. And that is pretty much all I did in the garden, other than getting my herbs. And I didn't have really good luck starting my herbs from seed. They just didn't do much of anything. So I'll probably get plants and start them from seed. One of the things I think I'm going to do this year, which I did not do last year, and I might put them in one of my big long plants, is to put lettuce in the long plants to allow them to grow. I tried lettuce out of seeds, and it didn't work. I do not have good luck growing things from seed. My house, I don't know if it's just too cold, too hot, I don't know, too dry. I've never had good luck seed starting anything. I've had the warming mats, I've had the trays, I've had it all. They start out, they do good, and then when they get to about 1 inch to 2 inches tall, they just die. I can keep watering them, I can do everything, and I can never get them hardied up to get them to go outside. So stuff that I can start in seed outside, I just put in the ground and start that way. Stuff that needs to be started in a greenhouse, like your tomatoes, your peppers, and lettuce and things like that, I will grow in your herbs. I will go to the local stands, and I will buy the home stores that they have. We have 2 or 3 local ones that are just in our area, and I support them before I go to the big box store to get anything. And I will buy from them and put it in the ground that way. For those of you who want to start from seed, this is a late video. You probably should have already started some of your plants inside. I think when you figure it back, you have to do your frost date and you have to go back so many days from that to be able to start your seeds inside so that you can put them out. Usually by Mother's Day, I can have my garden planted with all of my starters and everything. And that's usually when I go buy everything, is like Mother's Day. But if I was to start them, I should have had them already started in seed starters the middle of February. I mean, we're in the first full week of March here, and we need, they should have already been done. So anybody that is going to be starting stuff from seed, if you want to do that, you need to get on it and doing it right now so that you can get those started and get them up and get them hardied so that they can go out into the ground. They can go out when they're a little bit smaller, and they will be okay. I mean, you can baby them a little bit, but you have to hardy them off and make sure that they'll be okay outside. But yeah, if you wanted to start from seed and do that kind of thing, more power to you. Go ahead. If you can do that, go ahead and do it. But for our area here, we should have started, especially your carrots, not your carrots, your tomatoes and peppers and like broccoli and stuff like that takes a long time to germinate. Some of them take 2 or 3 weeks before they'll actually germinate and have any growth, and then they don't grow very fast. So you really need to have that time. So I mean, middle of February is the time when you need to be putting them, getting your seed starters going, getting all that out and getting that ready for planting outside in May. But definitely, usually there's some things I don't do until the end of May, but most of the time I can get a lot of my garden planted. So stuff like radishes, beets, carrots, they do okay in the cold weather. Your peas, they do okay when it's cold. So I can get them in, like lettuce. I could get lettuce starters and get them put in when it's cool out, where it's, still a little cool at night, but you get a nice warm day, but so that it's not freezing. Your beans, on the other hand, don't like it to be cold. They like it to be warm. They like the ground to be 65 and warmer. Now, I think I planted my beans last year a little earlier than I normally did, but I think the weed fabric helped that tremendously. I think that allowed the ground to stay warmer overnight and they didn't get cold. I mean, I planted my beans and within 2 days they were up, and normally when it's cool like that, they don't come up right away. So my beans did really well. They like a nice warm soil, the ground to be warm, and of course they did wonderful. But with the weed fabric that it's black, it sucks all that sun in all day long, and then it keeps that ground warm all night long, which allows them to stay warm overnight. It sucks that air in, but it doesn't make the ground too warm that it cooks the roots. It's really weird how that weed fabric works, but it works good, because I pulled up a section of it and I touched the ground. The ground was cool to the touch. It wasn't hot like it would be like if you put a black plastic over it and it just killed everything. It let the water go through. It let the sun, it let it vent and everything, but just being able to have that heat to trap it so that it didn't come out overnight was wonderful. So that's my plan for the garden this year. Planning on, hopefully I'll get a lot like I did last year. I mean, I got a ton of stuff last year, was able to try many new things with tomatoes because I had so many of them. But just using up everything that I have in my pantry this year, using, eating it and trying to get most of it used up. I plan on, growing about the same as what I did last year. And hopefully I will be able to produce as much as I did. That's my plan. So that's my plan for the garden. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have not subscribed to my video, please consider doing so. It does benefit me greatly by you subscribing to my YouTube channel. And also remember, next week will be my 1-year anniversary, and I plan on doing a giveaway. So make sure you listen to the end of next week's video so that you can get the directions on how to register for the giveaway and what you need to do. But if you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. Thank you, and I will see you again. Bye.